Welcome to all. Respected Shri Raju Sinha ji, DG NTIPRIT, Shri SK Bhalla ji, DDG TS and PR NTIPRIT, Senior Officers of Department of Telecom, NTIPRIT, Industry and Academia. Very good morning to all and welcome to today's webinar on cyber frauds, threats and best practices. In today's webinar, we will be having 3 sessions from our esteemed expert faculties. First session will be on telecom frauds and it would be taken by Shri Bipin Khot ji. He's a Director Security in Gujarat LSA Department of Telecom. The second session will be on credit and debit card threats and customer best practices and would be taken by Shri Adesh Kumar Singh ji. He's a AGM at SBI Mumbai. And the third and last session would be taken on the topic UPI best practices and taken by Shri Hardik Dixit ji from NPCI. Now I request Shri SK Bhalla, DDG TS and PR, who have always encouraged and guided us to do webinars on such topics, to give their welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Vishal. Respected DG NTIPRIT Shri Raju Sinha ji, expert speakers for today's webinar, my colleagues from NTIPRIT, participants from various units of DOT and other departments, industry, academia, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm good morning to all and welcome to this webinar on cyber frauds, threats and best practices. With exponential increase in use of digital services in our country, awareness to exercise safe use of cyberspace becomes extremely important. Government has given due emphasis on this requirement by deciding to celebrate first Wednesday of every month as Cyber Jagrukta Divas. It is in this context that under the able leadership of DG NTIPRIT Shri Raju Sinha ji, our institute is organizing various programs every month for creating cyber awareness among various stakeholders. Last month, the focus area was critical information infrastructure, and today's theme is awareness for general users of cyberspace. Once again, I welcome Shri Raju Sinha ji, DG NTIPRIT and all the participants. With this, I would like to request Shri Raju Sinha ji to deliver the inaugural address and also declare this webinar open for deliberations. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Mr. Bhalla. Good morning to all of you, all the participants, officers from DOT headquarters, LSA, TEC, industry, academia, researchers, students and participants, learned speakers in the session, fellow officers from NTIPRIT, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to all of you. Welcome to this webinar. We have assembled this morning to discuss a very important and relevant topic. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Very relevant topic, cyber fraud, threats, and best practices. As Balaji has said, dear participants, we are very lucky to be present in the era of digital transformation of India. We are increasingly becoming a digital economy. Proliferation of ICT services have touched all aspects and dimensions of human life, maybe it health, education, economics, defense, or any other field. But it has also brought in with it cyber threats, including telecom frauds, which is increasing significantly. So cyber security awareness has become a vital to keep workforce and business safe online. Friends, frauds have already been present with the telecom industry since its inception. So today, as per the topic goes organized, we'll be discussing telecom frauds as well as other frauds. So frauds are present with the telecom industry since it has started providing services. Fraudsters have invented numerous ways to use services for free or on somebody else's behalf. Their techniques vary from abusive services use, stealing IDs, credentials, or hardware to breaching physical core network security or copying devices. Each scenario has different anomaly patterns that needs to be detected analytically and updated as fraudsters tweaks their methods always. As you know, telecom revenue leakage and fraud is rapidly emerging as one of the biggest sources of revenue loss among telcos. I was just reading days before, this has led the operator across the globe losing up to 30 billion in uncollected revenue and surprisingly 135 billion in form of revenue leakage. The emergence of OTT data services, fierce competition for customer retention among telcos, and significant drop in voice and SMS revenue have severely impacted the bottom line of telco worldwide, as you all know. In addition, technological innovations such as IoT and 5G in the telecom sector have driven a rapid uptake among customers. But this has also resulted in potential threats and vulnerabilities among interfacing applications, devices, payment gateways, industrial integration, and so on and so forth, which directly affect the revenue market share for telecom company. Many of us are already knowing the telecom fraud scenario, but just to name few which have become very relevant these days also are some of them are international revenue sharing fraud, commonly known as IRSF. It takes advantage of premium phone rates, which are then dialed unwittingly by users. Another one is being used are being used frequently now are interconnect bypass fraud, which also we know as SIM-box fraud. It takes advantage of something called a termination rate to make cheaper phone calls. Our DDG already working on one of the committee constituted by the department. Other significance are telecom arbitrage fraud, where general practice of capitalization on price differences fraud takes place. Very commonly, where occurring in earlier days are PBX hacking, because normally in these days PBX are IP based. They can be an easy target for hackers. So they will log into the system and use it for their advantage. A few more are like deposit frauds. Subscription fraud is also very common, in which telephony world sees criminals sign up for contracts using stolen IDs and stolen credit card numbers. Phone contracts are harder for fraudsters to purchase than items because they involve a form of KYC checks. So they normally steal the IDs. A few more importants are account takeover, in which telecom company who offer online user account can be victim of ATO attacks. Another important are SMS phishing, which we all are aware, and very important given by the Japanese firm are Wangiri fraud. This is a Japanese word which means one and cut. Wangiri telecommunication fraud involves striking curiosity in customers by calling them, letting the phone ring once and hanging up. The customer will often ring back unwillingly, calling an expensive premium number that the fraudsters control. And This way, these were the important ones which I thought to share, and many more will be hear from the speaker during the session. But once these are occurring, we need to have good practices to be adopted to analytically analyze these frauds and try to overcome that. And from the years of expertise in telecommunication fraud detection to perform effective risk assessment. This helps us in developing actionable insights to refine existing revenue leakage and fraud controls. Also, we need to recommend new control and best practices. Since telecom service has long history, so based on the available technology prevailing at the time of providing service by telco, they themselves were adopting various methods to overcome the process. So mainly depending upon the era, the fraud analytics earlier was taking in the form of business intelligence. Business intelligence has had mainly data warehousing and management information. Interestingly, the study says that employee tip had a higher percentage in preventing the fraud taking in telecom world or cyber world. But combining these two data warehousing and management information, it gives to the basic process to these applications. And various method adopted through these business intelligence method that includes internal audit, employee tips, management reviews, external audit, uh, like CP audit we are coming across, accidental discovery, and many more. So for business intelligence to do its job, we need a robust data warehousing architecture so that data can easily be accessed for management information purpose. Management information relates to creating executive dashboards, data visualization, data storytelling, and any other reporting method. But friends, the time changed, technology changed. So now we are with the data, we have 3 V's. Essentially, it is said volume of data, variety of data, and velocity of data. So the traditional business intelligence were not able to cope up with that. With the increasing volume, variety, and velocity of data, it has led to a development of big data tools, as we all know. Critically, traditional data storage and processing systems are not efficient enough to deal with the 3 V's of big data. So once in a big data store, analysis can work with the data and develop an understanding of the features that are predictive when detecting fraud by the fraudsters. So similarly, along with the big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning are arguably the most exciting technology in fraud analytics today. About the best practices being adopted in the industry, we'll be listening more from our learned speaker in the session. But all these practices, what we are going to adopt, it needs certain assurance um, uh, by the telcos. These assurance are majorly are margin assurance, service mismatch assurance, roaming and IR users assurance, ISD versus ILD payout assurance, billing and rating assurance, adjustment and waiver assurance, commission and cost analytics, and many more. So these are the responsibility or objective available with the engineers to develop best practices in the cyber threat world. So these are the few points I wanted to share with you, and all these aspects we shall be knowing and interacting with the learned speakers in the session. I would like to congratulate TS unit of NTIPRIT, who in their continuous effort on the subject have designed today's webinar for creating awareness on cybersecurity fraud and detection practices. A big hand to the unit. I declare the webinar open and wish all its success. Over to Vishal.
Thanks a lot, sir. It was very kind of you to share your thoughts with all, and sincere thanks from all the officers for taking out time for your busy schedule for this inaugural session. Thanks a lot, sir. Now moving forward, we will start with today's sessions, and I would request Shri Yashwant Kumar ji to kindly give a brief bio of our speaker. The first session would be taken by Shri Bipin Khot ji, and session would be on the telecom frauds. Over to you, Yashwant.
Thanks, Vishal. Good morning to all of you. So as mentioned by Vishal, first session is about telecom frauds. This session will be delivered by Sri Bipin Khot, Director Security, Gujarat LSA DOT. So just I will introduce to Bipin. So he is an Indian Telecom Service Officer of 2003 batch. He has done engineering in electronics from VJTI Mumbai in 2001. He has more than 17 years of experience in administration, management, policy formulation, regulations, legal monitoring, testing, and enforcement of telecom related matters. He has also worked in Aadhaar project on deputation for 5 years. After completion of UIDAI deputation in 2021, he joined as Director Security in DOT Gujarat LSA office, and with his initiative, many fraud connections were identified in Gujarat LSA, and also 3 grey market setups were untreated during his short tenure at the Gujarat. Now I request Bipin to deliver his presentation. Over to you, Bipin.
Thank you, sir. Respected DG NTIPRIT Raju Sinha sir, DDG Bhalla sir, Yashwant sir, respected senior officers from DOT, industry and academia. Good morning to all of you. I will be dealing with, as DG sir has mentioned, that with the increase of technology, lot of cyber frauds have increased. And in today's session, I will be dealing with the telecom related frauds. Cyber frauds, there are many cyber frauds, but that will be delivered by the other speaker. I will concentrate on the telecom frauds, and I will, as this is a consumer awareness session, I will deal as regards to the consumers, means what consumers can take precautions while, so that such kind of frauds will not happen to them. So in this session, I will explain about SIM swap and MNP fraud, telecom tower installation frauds, call spoofing fraud, KYC document misuse or eKYC fraud, and what precautions that consumer can take to avoid such frauds, and how to report such frauds, where they can report the cyber frauds and other frauds. So first is SIM swap or MNP frauds. In this fraud, the fraudster managed to get new SIM card issued against your registered mobile number. Whatever registered mobile number you have, he gets the SIM card in your name or in his name from the TSP or with the help of MNP of your mobile number. And once he get the SIM card or once he get the registered mobile number in his hand, he can get OTPs and other alerts which is required for financial transaction. So your bank account gets access, because nowadays just the fraudster needs to know the account number or the user ID, and with the help of mobile number he can get the user ID also, he can get the password also, and whatever the transaction, whatever the financial transactions OTPs are required, that can get on the mobile number. So in the first kind of fraud, he fraudulently gets the SIM or registered mobile number of your on his handset. So there are two kinds of frauds that can happen with the for the SIM swap or MNP fraud. One is SIM swap request, in which the same mobile operator will be there. Suppose Airtel or Idea is there, then the fraudster will get the Airtel SIM card of your number on his handset. That he can do with by visiting the POS and store operator. He will fake your ID proof. He will with the help of Photoshop and anything, he can get the ID of your ID and address on and paste his own photo. He will take it to the point of sale or store, and he will ask that, okay, I am this genuine person. Please give me, my SIM card has been stolen. My SIM card has been lost. So please give me the new SIM card. And he will try such type of things at 4-5 different POS, and maybe one POS, the inexperienced person may hand over the new SIM card to the fraudster by swapping your mobile number on that SIM card. So in this case, the fraudster impersonate as resident, or he sometimes tries to show the urgency. He will say that the person in whose name the mobile number is there, he is in hospitalized, he met with accident, and he is my uncle, or he is my brother, he is my father, and he needs his SIM card has been lost, so kindly give me SIM card. His documents are like this. The fake document he will produce, and he may get the SIM card. That is first SIM swap request that is done within the operator. Another is the MNP request. Sometimes these fraudsters get hold of your handset, and they will generate the UPC from your handset, and they will get the UPC. They will go to the another operator. UPC is the unique porting code required for porting to another operator's your mobile number on the another operator's network. So they will get the UPC. They will generate the porting request, and your number may get transferred to other operator with that UPC. Otherwise, they can ask the UPC fraudulently on your by calling you, and if once UPC is shared, so there is a chances that your mobile get transferred to other operator's SIM card who is held by the fraudster. So this MNP swapping will happen with other mobile operators. So your registered mobile number, your mobile number will get transferred to the in the fraudster's hand with SIM swap or MNP fraud, and he will access your bank account. Financial transaction will happen. Your account will be stolen. So how a general customer can avoid such type of frauds? Whenever there is a no network in SIM card, what a customer should do, he should immediately confirm by switching on off if the network no network is there, because of switching on off or flight mode off on. That by doing that, if the network is coming, that is okay. If the network is still not coming, then try to make a call to your own mobile number from somebody else mobile number. And if the call is getting through, that means your SIM has been swapped. If the SIM has been swapped, immediately ask your operator by calling from some other number to block your number, and also ask the bank account to block the transactions on wherever your mobile number is linked. So another thing you can do is call customer care if the network is still not there, and ask them if the SIM has been swapped or MNP is done on your number. By way means, because once the SIM is swapped or MNP request is done, so there is some safeguard is given by DOT that the SMS will not get delivered for some time, maybe 24 hours. So in that time, if you can make out that your SIM has been swapped, then you can be you can safeguard yourself from any financial transactions. Don't share your UPC with any other person over phone or in physical mode. Also, do not share your handset with any unknown person at some place. He may come to you that, okay, I have lost my father, just give me your handset, I want to make some call or not. in that case also we take lot of precautions. So another kind of fraud is telecom tower installation fraud. These type of advertisement you will see in the local newspaper, that if you have a empty land, just contact us. You will get we will install the tower over there. You will get 90 lakhs advance. You will get 90,000 rent in a month. You will get this for Toyota Fortuner. You will get free internet. You will get job in that company, and they will ask that you contact or WhatsApp your details on the WhatsApp number given in this thing. These are the advertisement I have taken from recent newspaper. So these kind of advertisement are coming recently also in the newspaper, and generally they target the local newspaper, wherever the poor farmers or poor families are living who are in need of money. In this kind of fraud, first they put on the advertisement, then the victim or the person who wants to give his land, he will he will call that person, okay, I have land, you can install your tower over there. So he will ask, the fraudster will ask to send the address over the WhatsApp or SMS. Then the fraudster will send a documentation from Google Map that your this thing location is surveyed and it is okay. We have surveyed this thing and we will install the tower. You will get 90 lakhs, you will get 90,000 rent. You just have to deposit 2 to 5,000 rupees in our account as a survey charge. So the person, the poor farmer will think, okay, 2,000, 5,000 is very less, I will deposit it. So he will deposit it. Once he deposit that amount, the fraudster will send another documentation with the demand draft copy that 70 lakhs is ready in your name. The fake documentation, fake government letterhead, fake TSP's letterhead are used, that okay, these companies are ready to install the tower on your location. And we are now going to transfer the money. You just have to pay 25,000 rupees as a TDS or transfer charge. Like that, they will continuously ask more money from the person in the name of NOC, check clearance charge, transportation charge. And once the person or once the poor person make out that okay, he is being cheated, the fraudster will switch off his mobile number, SIM card. So such kind of frauds are happening nowadays also. So how to avoid? A consumer can avoid. They need to think that never deposit any registration fee money for tower installation charges. If somebody or any company is coming to install the tower at your location, they will pay you, not you have to pay them. So that thing we have to keep in mind, and we have to be aware that don't get in trap of easy money. Nothing in this world is free. If somebody is giving something free or somebody is giving more money, that means there is some catch. So that thing should be kept in mind. And if you are the victim, then you have to lodge a complaint with the nearest police station. They will help you out if it is possible. Another kind of fraud is call spoofing fraud. So you will receive a call displaying name of friend or relative, that your friend or relative is calling you, but actually the calling person will be somebody different from the name displayed, and he will demand some money or help. Okay, I have stuck here and there. He will change his voice. He will use the voice modulation, and he will ask for some help, that please transfer this money on the Paytm or the PhonePe account. And he will also sometimes try to mischief, or he will blackmail also by using this call spoofing fraud. So in this call spoofing fraud is the caller ID of a different person than the true caller is displayed. And if that spoof number is saved in your contact list, that number will be displayed. Such calls are generally routed through international gateways, because in national calling pattern, you cannot spoof the call. So, but when the call coming from international gateway, the whatever CLI coming, that has to be passed on by the ILD operators. Nowadays, DOT has issued some guidelines to not to pass on the landline number, but still mobile number can be passed on by the international gateways, and you on your phone you will display the same number. In your CDR also you will get the same number who has called the person. So you cannot make out that if it is the same person or different. So what can be done if somebody is doing, if some relative is asking for money, maybe through social media or maybe through calling you, just try to call back them. Just try to talk to them from your phone and originate a call. If the spoofed call is there, then whenever you will originate, the call will go to the true person. So that one thing can be done. Another thing is that before transferring any money, always verify the actual person. That can be done through calling or calling their relatives and all these things. Another kind of fraud I want to discuss is the KYC document misuse or eKYC fraud. In this kind of fraud, the fraudster misuse the document submitted for KYC. We submit lot of document to TSPs, we submit a lot of documents to bank and all these things. So these documents can get misused to issue the SIM card in your name, and the fraudster will get the SIM card in your name. So his name will not be displayed, his name will not be in the database, your name will be there in the database. That is one kind of KYC related fraud. Another eKYC fraud can also happen by double biometric authentication. Nowadays, whenever you go for when you want to purchase a SIM card, the eKYC is done. When you take a SIM card, 2 times biometric authentication is done. But sometimes that the POS person will say, okay, the authentication is not proper, so you give 2 more authentication, and 1 more SIM card may get issued in your name, which will be kept by the person or the POS or the fraudster, and he will sell it to some criminal, and it may get used for illegal activity. That can happen by KYC fraud, means using the document, and another thing is biometric authentication. So how can we avoid such type of things? So whenever we give the documents for any, whenever we give our document for anything like KYC, then always strike out the photocopy of identity proof. Write the purpose of its uses overlapping the photocopy. Means I have given this document for this purpose, self-attested. Another thing is that you can do the check how many connections are there in your name from the TAFCOP portal of Department of Telecom. I will show you that TAFCOP portal, in which you can get how many connections are issued in your name, and you can report some connections which are suspicious, that will get verified. Another thing that while taking a SIM card, you ensure that biometric authentication is done only 2 times, and if you want, you can verify your biometric authentication history from UIDAI website. You can see how many times you have been biometrically authenticated. You check if you have taken a SIM card, if it is done by 2 times, the authentication is done for 2 times, it is okay. If it is done, successful authentication is done for 4 times, then you can say that the authentication is done 4 times and 2 SIM cards are issued in your name. How that can be done, I will show you. One is TAFCOP portal. This facility currently is available with the Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Rajasthan, Telangana, Jammu Kashmir, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram, and Arunachal Pradesh consumer only. So these people can enter their mobile number, and after the entering, they will get the OTP, and then they will get displayed how many mobile connections are there in their name and in their IDs. If some mobile number is not in their name, then they can report such mobile numbers. That report will be sent to TSPs, and they will verify if that number is held by the person in whose name that connection is there. So that can be done through TAFCOP. Another thing, what I have mentioned, that UIDAI authentication, Aadhaar authentication history. You can go to the uidi.gov.in, under which my Aadhaar services, this highlighted portion, Aadhaar authentication history. You can see your Aadhaar biometric authentication history and see how many times you have been authenticated. This history is available for last 6 months only. So if it is older, you cannot able to see the authentication history. So others, these are about telecom frauds. Other speaker will talk about cybercrime also. But if you have to report such cyber crimes, you have to go to the National Cybercrime Reporting Portal, that is www.cybercrime.gov.in, under the Ministry of Home Affairs, and you have to report such cybercrime over there. Or also you can take the help of cybercrime helpline number, that is 30, or you can lodge a complaint at nearest police station. If specifically notified, then you can also lodge a complaint to the cyber police station. If you lodge a complaint to cybercrime.gov.in, that complaint will also go to the police station online. Another thing, just I wanted to inform that if there is any banking fraud, what are the RBI guidelines for the banking fraud? If someone has fraudulently withdrawn money from your bank account, then you inform bank immediately. When you notify the bank, remember to take the acknowledgement, and the bank has to resolve your complaint in 90 days. And if withdrawal is fraudulent, then bank has to reimburse the amount. And if the bank is not replying, then you can complain to the RBI, that is banking ombudsman is there. Another thing, what RBI guidelines mention, that if you negligently share your OTP, password, and these things, then bank will not bear the cost till the time you report to the bank. When you report to the bank that this fraud has been happened, then after reporting, the bank has to reimburse whatever the fraudulent transactions have happened. So if it is by your negligence, they will not reimburse. So these are the RBI guidelines. I just wanted to touch on them. So the telecom frauds, 4 frauds I have covered, and these RBI guidelines are covered. And thank you very much. If there is any questions, as NTIPRIT says, I have to take now, or otherwise I'll take it later on. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Bipin sir. That was quite an insightful session. I hope the audience must have gained a lot, because these are the things that are going on in recent space related to telecom, the SIM swap frauds and various other frauds like tower installations. And it was a very good presentation. Thanks a lot, sir, for your sharing your insights. And with this, moving forward, we could have a next session, and that is on credit card and debit card threats and consumer best practices, and would be taken by Shri Adesh Kumar Singh from SBI. Before proceeding for the session, I request Shri Yashwant Kumar sir to please give a brief introduction of Adesh Kumar sir. Over to you, sir. I'm sharing the brief bio of sir. Yes, sir, please.
Thanks, Vishal. So just I will introduce to Sri Adesh Kumar Singh, AGM SBI Mumbai. So he has more than 25 years of experience in banking technology, risk management, and information security. Have been instrumental in setting up on-premises next-gen global cyber security operations center at SBI with state-of-art security technology powered by AI, ML, and response orchestration solution. He is in charge of incident management and threat hunting team at Security Operations Center SBI, which proactively monitors the cyberspace on 24/7 basis to detect anomalies and malicious traffic activities, and alert about the vulnerabilities in the bank's IT system, application, data breaches, cyber frauds for necessary action. He also collaborates with threat intel service provider for anti-phishing, brand abuse, dark web monitoring services. He has various certifications like certified information system auditor, that is CISA, and certified ethical hacker from EC Council, certified association of associate of Indian Institute of Bankers, that is CAIIB. So just I request to Adesh Kumar Singh to deliver his presentation. Over to you, Adesh. Thank you. Adeshji, are you getting my voice?
Adeshi, you can share your content now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Yashwantji. Just give me 2 minutes. Is it visible now?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So good morning, Raju Sinha sir, Satyen Balaji, Yashwantji, Vishalji, and all dignitaries who have joined here from the various parts of telecom companies, maybe internal government organizations. My name is Adesh Singh. So basically, Bipin sir has already covered many of the things. In fact, I was thinking he has already covered some of the RBI guidelines and KYC things. Anyway, I will be dealing with the credit card related things. So briefly, we'll talk about the what are the credit card transaction frauds, which is the Sinha sir has already highlighted that a large number of transactions are happening and a huge number of frauds are taking place. Debit cards and credit card threats, and we'll speak about the consumer best practices also. So here is just a glance to visualize that what is the enormity and what is the level of transactions which are going on. This is the data which I have taken from ETAL, Electronic Transaction Aggregation Analyzer Layer, from Government of India's website. It gives the data related to this financial year, not the calendar year actually. This is from January to 1st of November. We can easily see that the UPI is the highest one with the 60% of the transactions going through UPI. Although we'll be taking much about the debit cards and credit cards, the numbers are huge. It is more than 550 crores transactions taking place, and the is having the share of 6.53% in the overall electronic transactions which are taking place. So we can see that the number of transactions which are going through debit cards and credit cards are not very less, and they are quite significant. And basically the other e-channels are used by people who are all tech savvy, but cards are mainly used by the people who are not that tech savvy. And in the people who are in the rural areas, RuPay card and all, they have come, government is floating those cards. The next slide, you can just see, this is based on the information which I have collected from the National Crime Record Bureau. Their report based on the data of 2021, and it was released in August 2022. The first picture, which is showing the graph, the debit card and credit cards frauds, which have been reported to the National Crime Bureau, it has come. This is more than 3,432. And the number of cheating cases based on the electronic channels have increased vis-a-vis 2021 nearly by 16%. And this may be of interest for the people which are there in telecom sector, because anything which happens in banking is ultimately originated or is being used through the telecom service providers only. The right-hand side chart shows the maximum number, the top 5 states where the frauds have taken place. Maharashtra tops the list with 564 reported cases, Jharkhand, Haryana, Delhi, and Uttar Pradesh. So these numbers are basically just to give an idea, like from where these frauds are reported in chunks. This, I'm just giving you a feel like the recent frauds which are taking place, which have taken place on 7th of Jan. These are all from the news items. You may be aware, most of you have heard that Faridabad credit card fraud was there, in which the SBI credit cards were compromised using the web browser and malware things. Bangalore next, it is Bangalore, 2 employees were defrauded for 1.9 lakh through a credit card fraud. And I talked about the film producer Boni Kapoor's credit card misused losses 3.82 lakhs. So nobody is spared, even the top people, the learned people, many people. See the cyber fraud. See this last one which has come in mint on 7th of August. Cyber fraud, retired IS officer duped for 2 lakh over home delivery. So nobody is spared. So everybody is talking about the cyber frauds, the customer awareness and all. Still, in spite of all awareness being created, frauds are taking place. And Many educated people are getting trapped in this. So we'll just cover up the threats which are in the which are related to credit and debit cards. Many of them have been talked about by Bipin ji. Misuse of stolen cards and cards not received by genuine applicants. There is more or less like the SIM. Somebody is taking SIM on somebody's KYC documents which are fraudulently gathered from somebody. Counterfeit and altered cards, merchant acting in collusion with credit card holders. Like in the SIM places, also telecom sector also happens that people who are not aware and they are having small shops and they don't bother about verifying the details which is being submitted by the customers, and they just to in the name of giving and delivery of fast service, they give the SIM cards and they activate those things. ATM and POS skimming, this is very prevalent, and although it is coming down as compared to the other electronic frauds year by year with the new controls being put. We'll speak about them in the next slide. Keystroke logging, application fraud, social engineering, identity theft, spywares, and improper storage of credit cards. These are some major things which need to be taken care by the consumers and each one of us, and they are related basically to debit card and credit card threats. This is ATM and POS frauds, more or less same. Credit cards are used, debit cards are used more on POS, and ATMs, mainly the debit cards are used. So what the skimming is a kind of a small device. Most probably everybody knows in the telecom sector what skimming is. It's more or less like a SIM swipe type of thing, and a duplicate card is being prepared. A small SIM device is attached to a POS device to hack the card data. The MagTape cards are more prone to this, but with the RBI initiatives and other banks taking points, the EMV chip-based cards are being introduced, but still there are a number of cards which are still MagTape cards. These devices scan and store the card information while the customer completes a swipe transaction. You might have seen on the POS, they will swipe your card. So whatever data is available on the MagStrip is copied on the POS, which is already infected or already devised for that, copying of that, and using that data, a fake card is created with the details which were captured. Usually it involves the merchant on the store employee who shares these details with malicious attacker. It is in connivance with the merchants, or sometimes they are not aware, they are not tech savvy, and some service engineer will come and he will show that, okay, sir, I'll install a software on this, we will get this report. And finally, they are getting the data. Similar external attachments can be attached to the ATM cards also. Same process is there on the ATM. The card reader slot, this is an external device which they attach to the card reader slot, and they place a small camera to get the pin also. So they get the pin as well as the information, and after cloning those cards, they will be using these cards for malicious purposes, using transactions. And the best practices which we suggest is watch out for suspicious devices connected to ATM POS units. Always try and physically test whether there is a thing which is already loosely fixed to that. Always shake and jiggle the slot to see if a cloning attachment comes loose. Always cover the keypad with other hand while entering the pin. Most of the time we see that the ATM slot is quite slow and quite small, and we don't bother to cover up the keypad when we are entering it. And at the same time, there is a keyhole or keyhole camera attached to that, so that is prone to detection that the fraudster who has placed the pinhole camera can see that pin later on. And we are not aware that how the pin was shared, because many times the customers will argue that, okay, if you are saying the card was cloned, but how come the pin was known to the customer, to the fraudster? I have not shared anything. But this is the way they try to disguise the customers, and they get this thing. Another thing is the new type of cards which are being enabled, say that is near field communication, the tap and go type of cards. They can be used where you do not have put the pin. So that is also a safe way to deal with the ATM and POS frauds. This is a broad pictorial thing where we can see how the skimming things are attached. The uh, first picture shows how the keyboard is fiddled with, and the key loggers can be installed there. And the second picture shows how the pinhole camera is being installed. So this is the way, just to the paucity of time, I'm not going through the complete details, but these are all mainly known because these are age-old techniques. Now they are not going for these type of techniques because people are quite aware, and they will be simply trying, and they will be testing any attachment external thing is attached to that. Another a new age, you can say, it is basically in line with the skimming only. This is called shimming attack. It is a deep insert skimmer, which is nowhere physically visible from the outside of the ATM. Shimmers are made of a thin, flexible printed circuit boards and microprocessor chips. Once installed, the microprocessor on the shimmer is programmed to function as a chip in the middle. It acts like it sniffs between the card and the card reader. I'll show you in the next slide how it is installed, where it relays the ATM commands to the victim's chip card and back while recording information from the chip card. This information is later extracted by the attacker and used to clone a fake magnetic card. See, the point is the complete chip-based card cannot be cloned, but the data which he has gathered from the MagTape, that can be again reused to make a MagTape fake card. So if in that case, he will be able to use that information and do a fraudulent transaction. Shimmers are hard to detect than skimmers because they are completely inserted into the ATM and they are virtually not visible. So the best practices say the cover pin pad while entering the pin. This is the best thing. Like even if he is getting the card information, he will not get the pin. So ultimately, he will not be able to use it. Stick to the ATMs that are physically installed in a bank. Mostly don't avoid using the ATMs which are in the remote locations or which are not properly lit. And especially be vigilant during the weekends when we go out and outskirts of these cities. We find these are all lonely ATMs, so we can do transactions because thieves are also tempted to go to those places where people are coming, but mainly the bank and the AMC people will not be visiting so frequently to check this. And a normal customer cannot find a shimmer inside it. One trick is there when you are inserting a ATM card into that card reader, if you find any pressure or anything, it is not going into the card reader properly, be cautious. There is a possibility that there is already a shimmer inside it. So avoid using that if possible. So don't use that. So I'll quickly show you a small video wherein we can see how it can. So this was the brief about because I wanted to show this because this is not physically visible to the customers and people at large. So just wanted to show this small clipping. The next, which is a kind of threat, is the key loggers, which are installed under the keypads. So we need to be careful about that while entering the pins. Even in these key loggers, if you're hiding your pin keypad with your hand, but this key logger, which is already kept inside under the keyboard, will be able to find out, will be able to capture those pins. So this is also a kind of a dangerous thing. And it comes as a physical keylogger also, and there can be a software for this. And these softwares are a kind of malwares which can get installed on your laptops and desktops also to capture everything which is being typed. So best practices: use virtual keyboard available in operating system. Never click suspicious links that may install applications from untrustworthy sources. Use reliable antivirus on system for an added layer of precaution. Next is application fraud. This is not directly related to credit card after issuance. This is a pre-issuance when the applications, what Bipin sir was also telling, that the SIM cards are being taken on the forged KYC documents. He is rightly told that these documents, which when we are submitting those documents must be properly crossed, and it should be dated. In your purpose of the submitting that KYC document should be clearly mentioned. Many of us simply hand over those KYC documents without giving that, and that gives a scope for the fraudsters to misuse those documents. So this is also on the same line. Many times they will call, fraudsters will call, if you are having a credit card, we can give you another credit card where you will get lifetime free, no annual fees will be there. And they take your existing credit card details, and finally they do fraudulent transactions based on your credit card, which is the existing credit card. And many times it is observed when we submit these KYC documents for a credit card, they are not actually submitted to the company, maybe like the State Bank of India or Citibank. A lot of DSAs, direct sales agents, are there. They don't submit those documents. They misuse those KYC documents, and they tell, sir, wo aapka approval nahi hua, and you will not get any confirmation also, and your documents will not be handed over. So be careful whenever you are handing these type of things. Nowadays, most of the banks are coming up with online application forms. So use those, and you can upload those KYC documents whenever they are required. Social engineering. This is the basic thing which is misused in every type of frauds, be it a banking fraud, be it a telecom fraud, or anything. This is basically taking the advantage of the human factor. Phishing scam, everybody is aware of, like they will be asking you by way of a phone call. Phone call, when you call, is phishing is done through phone call, that is called phishing. And SMS, if they are sharing some information through SMS, that is called smishing. So normally they will be, nowadays the trend is they will be sharing a link which will be taking to a fake website wherein they will ask for a lot of confidential information, personal account information, name, credit card, date of birth, phone, mobile number, everything they will ask you to put on that. Maybe many times it is asked to update for the purpose of updating the KYC. Nowadays, that electricity bill is very prevalent. They will ask that your electricity bill be disconnected if you are not updating, or if you're not paying the bill, pending bills. And people, without checking their information, whether their bill is up to date or not, they simply click those and they fall prey of those fraudsters. So the best way is always verify the URLs and never click on suspicious links. Always use your bank's official website for any online transaction or contacting your bank's official helpline number. This also I would like to highlight: whenever we want to contact any service desk or contact customer care numbers, we don't go to the go to see that the customer care numbers are written at the back of the card or in the passbook also. We simply go and try to Google those numbers. And when we go for Google and we blindly see first number, whatever comes is, and we dial those numbers. Here, the one thing I would like to highlight is most of those mobile numbers which are listed are by the third party vendors. Either they are some service providers or they are some resellers or they are foresters themselves. They will, if you simply type customer care now also, you will find thousands of customer care numbers for all banks. So do verify and don't blindly call them. It is best to go to the bank's official site or the telecom site. Wherever customer care is there, go to the organization's actual original website and from there only you take those numbers. Don't go and rely on the Google browsing. This wishing I will skip because due to paucity of sign. So next one I would like to show you. This is a good one. It will take a minute or so.
Adeshi, I think the system voice is not coming in this. Hello.
So you're not getting the video voice?
Yeah, it was actually while sharing the system voice needs to be shared. I think that point was not clicked. That's why the system. No issue, sir. You may continue now.
You can. I just wanted to cover up everything because due to paucity of sign, this video covered everything like the NFC cards, wireless cards which are there, the threats and how we can protect them using an RFID protected enclosure, or the simplest way is like covering our cards with aluminum foil. The next one, which I can means we can highlight, is the identity theft. This is also based on the information gathered from our KYC documents or the card data. It is better always to check the alerts of the transactions which you have not made. And especially I would like to mention here, when we are having an add-on cards, we are mostly giving add-on cards to our spouse or the children. And we don't bother to check those things. We believe that, okay, my son would have done this transaction, and son will not get that alert because he has not done. But at the end of the day, the end of the month, when the bill comes, you find that there is a transaction which nobody has done. So there is a delay in reporting. So always be alert whenever you are having an add-on cards also. Don't just bother about your alerts which we are coming to your primary cards, because as a primary card holder, you will be getting the alerts for your primary card as well as the add-on cards. Protect your personal information, cut back on sharing, don't share anything, and especially your devices, keep their credit card status up to date. Always go and see the CIBIL and all, because many times based on the fake cards, people take loans and they they don't pay, and it gives a bad scoring in the CIBIL score also. Another threat, which is with the credit cards, basically it is how they collect the data from our about our cards, is the malware and the Trojan. The recent one which you might have read in the newspaper is the Drinic malware, which is a kind of a malware which installs on your mobile phone. It is an ISS kind of a fake app of of Income Tax Department. And once it is installed, it can read your SMS, it can receive SMS, it reads your call logs, read and write external storage also. So this is how, if you are storing any information on, say, maybe card number or PIN, many times people store on their SMSs or those SMS alerts which come to that mobile, everything is accessible. Even the OTPs are accessible to the malware. And these are all transmitted to the CNC servers, which are controlled by the threat actors. Once you authorize the permission app, it's executed without notifying, and it is a kind of a remote assist. You are giving your remote control to somebody else, and you are not aware of what is going to happen. Best practices: don't install software recommended by SMSs, or wherever it is coming, somebody asks you on call, please install this app, I'll help you out, or do some transaction under their control. Don't do that on anybody's suggestion. Do a due diligence, then only do that. Never let an identified app access text and call history. Even if you have installed, don't give all permissions. Give selective permission. See if it is actually a genuine one or not. Mostly what happens is the offers and festival offers will come and people will share on WhatsApp that Adobe is giving this, or maybe the Chroma is giving this % discounts. Please install this, and you give my code to this, and you'll be getting 50% discount and all. So don't go for these type of schemes. Always do your due diligence. And since this is the latest thing, Drinic, and another few months ago, there was one malware which was called SOVA that was also doing the similar thing. It can take a screenshot, grab your screenshot of the mobile and send it to the CNC servers. And another gray area is the improper storage of cards and CVV details. Normally, the merchants are not supposed to store anything, but many a times it has been observed during the analysis that they do store some of the information, and sometimes many critical information is stored in their devices. Viruses also, if there are any viruses, their keyloggers are installed in, they can also sniff that information and share with this. So best practices is, if always keep your systems update, use password managers. If you feel like you are comfortable with them, then use them. Otherwise, don't use them. If somebody is using, you should also not use unless until you are comfortable with the password managers. Otherwise, these password manager software, you will keep all your passwords in one place, and finally someone will steal all your passwords and you will have a major impact. VPNs are also available wherein you can use your encrypt your internet connections to keep your sensitive information safe. And always keep backups, keep on taking backups of your mobiles, desktops, laptops, so that your sensitive information is not lost. Nowadays, the new malwares that ransomwares are there, which they encrypt your data and they will give you the decryption key only when you pay something, and that too, it is asked in Bitcoins. So normally the general people will not be able to do any transactions in Bitcoins. That is also a great hassle. This is a slide wherein I just want to give a broad idea, because during the course of the interaction with the customer complaints and all, people are very sure that these informations are actually leaked by banks and by bank employees. It is not so always. All the banks, I'm not talking only about SBI, most of the banks, and every bank has got a very good security, and many times, and 99.9% these data are actually leaked from the browsers which we use when we don't have the updated browsers. It is there. The major source, all of us may not be able to go to this. The threat intel service providers which deal with the dark web and the deep web services, they tell that this card data has come to us from this and this source. So Telegram, card shop, crime forums, phishing scam, fake ads, IRC servers, and botnets are also installed to get the traffic and get the sensitive data. They will get your mobile number, card details, and many times they get the CVV and all this information in clear text also. The latest one, you might have heard about the Biden cash. A lot of newspaper articles were there, wherein 1.2 million cards were compromised and were available for sale on dark web. Mostly those were from the American Express. More than 50 to 60% cards were from American Express. Some of the Indian banks cards were also there, and the banks have taken action on that. Normally, the action is as soon as it is reported or banks come to know that any data has been compromised of the customer from any of these, because these service providers will tell and they will give you some, they will not give you the full data, but the mask data they will give. So based on that, the banks will identify and they will advise the customer to either change the PIN or change their passwords. And most of the time, the cards are replaced. This is just a broad idea. What is the cost of the stolen data which is sold on dark web? Social security numbers, $1. Online payment service logins, $20 to $200. Credit cards or debit cards, the range is $5 to $110. It becomes means they also check the balances, and also based on that they will price tag the information that if you want to buy the complete details, and it is sold to the threat foresters only, which they will try to encash those things. Driving licenses, loyalty accounts, internet banking, passports. So they put a price tag to each and every information which they take from the dark web, which they have stolen from the customers or by any of the vulnerabilities found in the systems. These are some common techniques, the random credit card numbers. There are some softwares which can generate credit card numbers, and those developers, or I will use threat actors only, they have those algorithms, like they can generate a valid card number. So because you might have observed that when you enter a credit card number, even if you enter 4-digit, it will say this Visa, Master. So there is an algorithm which can verify whether this card is from which service provider and whether the full card is valid or not. There are checksums. So they are in a position to generate those cards. And these are actually used for testing purposes, but they are misused by some of the people who are behind this. And they can attempt those card numbers randomly using bots. They will try to use those bots to validate the credit card numbers, whether they are genuine or not. And when they get these credit card numbers and the information is available, they will do small purchases, especially in the banks. They will be doing some 5,000, 3,000 rupee transactions, so that the small amount people don't bother, or they will not notice all those things. In the credit card, mainly they will be doing small transactions. And next is big ticket items, big scams. They will be hosting a lot of sites which will be giving you the mercantines on half the price or below the price. There are Telegram channels which will sell you a fridge, say for 1500 rupees or so. So people get tempted to purchase and do buying on those type of portals. They are not interested in giving the mercantile or the items. They are more interested on the data which they can gather on that. And one or two customers will get the items delivered to them, but most of them will be compromised later on. Phishing websites, this is the most common one. The phishing websites are hosted for lookalike like State Bank of India and major things. They will be putting phishing websites to lure the customers so that they can get trapped into it. Many times it is because of the offer, some discount on the loan processing fee, or maybe the KYC update or loan documents. They will be sending this. And the last one, the point of sale skimming, this we have already discussed. Here, most of the phishing attempts now, what we are seeing are through the SMSs which are delivered to random numbers. It is not targeting a specific bank or any specific customer. They will be having a bunch of numbers in their marketing database, and they will be simply sending an SMS to them. And a hyperlink will be there. Mainly the short codes will be there, which a customer clicks. He will be taken to a site which is a lookalike of the major organizations, and it asks some data. And as soon as they enter the data, immediately there is another team which acts online immediately. They don't give time to anybody. Like Bipin sir was telling, the major thing is they will create an urgency. So urgency and easy money, they are the two basic things where the customers get trapped into this. Now, finally, the consumer best practices. I listed out many of them. You should always have the softwares updated. You have a good antivirus installed in it. Protect Wi-Fi network with strong passwords. Don't use internet on free public internet networks. It is prone to compromise. Always use your passwords, which are complex. And this one is quite useful, like avoid autofill and saving your personal data on websites and browser. This is a general habit of especially the students and the people who are not able to remember their passwords and user ID and URL. So they store those things in the Google browser or other browsers. The option is there, so they can save your passwords in that, and that once the passwords are stored in the browser, any malware can take and sniff those passwords and send to the CNC server. This is a major thing where we have found that customers, without their knowledge, they say we have not shared any information with anyone, and those passwords are compromised. And the major chunk where we find the card data, compromised data is available is through browsers only, and which are actually infected by malwares. Use virtual cards. This is also a new thing which we can have, wherein you can generate a virtual card and your virtual card will be used for transaction. These are all one-time virtual cards, so there is no risk of losing any money. Shop at renowned secure websites. Don't click at suspicious links. Track your transactions. Check your credit card statements regularly, even your bank statements. Never send your credit card or debit card details on emails. Use strong passwords and PIN. Set transaction limits and disable international transactions. There is a facility to block, pause ATM and international transactions. You can selectively give permissions as and when you require. If you are not doing international transactions, you are not traveling, always disable them. Even if you are not doing pause transactions, you are always doing online transactions, so disable pause transactions. Or if you are always doing pause transactions, especially if your wife, they are going for shopping and they are doing pause transactions on malls and all. So you can disable the ATM transactions. Credit card, you can always disable credit card for ATM transactions because you're not going to withdraw cash through the credit card. So that is a good safeguard where you can have. Avoid paper trails of cards. Tokenize the card for better protection. This is a new thing which government has introduced. Keep your debit card safe. Use RFID blocking wallet to protect NFC. Don't use credit cards for dubious suspicious websites. And there is one more angle to it. How we are disposing the expired cards and which are not in use. immediately report about the stolen cards or lost card to the police. Tokenization, let's quickly cover on this. Tokenization refers to replacement of actual cards details with an alternate code called a token. This has been recently introduced, and government and banks are publicizing these things wherein we can tokenize this card. So actual card number, card expiry date, and this is not transmitted and is not stored. Which
Sorry
shall
to
be
interrupt,
unique.
Adesh.
Yes, sir.
Sorry to interrupt. Actually, next speaker had some meeting to attend in some time, so I would request you to kindly finish as soon as possible. Sorry
Yes, sir.
for
Give me 2 minutes, sir. 2 minutes.
Yeah.
There's this safe disposal of cards and statements. Demagnetize your card, slice with the scissors. The picture is sufficient enough to tell what are the safeguards we should take, because the expired cards or misuse can be done through this. ATM cards, ATM statements also are a source of information leakage. And last but not the least, which Bipin ji has also emphasized, in case you finally, unfortunately, you get trapped or you're a victim of any card fraud, immediately report to the bank, the credit card company about the incident, take the acknowledgement of the complaint, block the cards, and not only the cards, always block all channels, all e-channels. Many times it happens that we disable only one channel, maybe the ATM and INB, or INB, then ATM is left out, or UPI is not blocked. So in that case, chances are that the fraudster will do the customer with other e-channels also. File the cybercrime report on 1930. Earlier, this number was 155260, or you can report it on the National Cybercrime Portal, cybercrime.gov.in. And it is better that you report as soon as possible. There is a terminology called a golden hour. So if you're reporting on the cybercrime portal 1930 also, see, the information is shared among all the banks. If the money is moving out of the system also from one bank, say suppose you are a customer of one particular bank and the fraudster has done a transaction on Flipkart or Amazon. So this is an automated system. They will simply forward this information to all the participants who are participating in this particular cyber safe active mission. So all banks are there, and some of the e-commerce partners are also there. So this money will at least get blocked. As soon as possible, you should report it. And you should always change your passwords regularly, monitor your statements, and check for online shipping accounts. This is all. So the best thing is be vigilant and be safe. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Adeshji. It was quite an insightful session that you shared a lot about the basic practices that one should take care while doing all sort of transactions online, and what are the various threats the people faces these days. From NTIPRIT, I wholeheartedly thank you for taking out your time for this session, sir. Thanks a lot. Now moving forward, I would request Shri Yashwant Kumar ji to kindly introduce our next speaker for the last session, that is on the UPI best practices. Shri Hardik Dixit ji from NPCI would be taking this session. Over to you, Yashwant.
Thanks, Mr. So now I will introduce to Hardik Dixit from NPCI. Hardik has 20 plus year experience in the domain of fraud and cyber security, with key focus on payment products including debit, credit cards, internet, mobile banking, and new age products such as IMPS, AEPS, and UPI. He has managed transaction monitoring and investigation for bank like ICICI Bank, Yes Bank, which covered deep insight on customers and fraudster psyche, how customers are enticed, and the social engineering techniques used. He is a commerce graduate with PGD, BA in finance, and certified with CIPSP, SP, that is Certified International Payment System Professional. So this is about the Hardik. Now I request to Hardik to deliver his presentation. Over to you, Hardik.
Thank you, Yashwantji. Just let me know once my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yeah, it's visible. Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah. So good afternoon, everybody, and I have been witness to some of the fantastic sessions prior to this and the one from DOT as well. So on the UPI best practices, what we would want to basically, or I would want to share my experiences is that why is UPI such a success? When we say that 60% of digital payment transactions today are done through UPI, why is it a success? It is because of our customers, the users who actually basically contribute to the success, and therefore it is actually the responsibility of the stakeholders like NPCI, the banks, in fact even the DOT, to basically ensure that we provide a safe and secure atmosphere for our customers to do digital transactions, right? So my only objective of basically sharing some of the experiences that we have at NPCI on the UPI practices is that we'll not only discuss it amongst ourselves, but we basically try and ensure that all of these mistakes or enticements which the customers are being made to fall prey to are actually converted into some customer awareness programs, and then basically we ensure that our customers don't fall prey to it. So I'll just bring out what are the kind of different frauds or different modus operandi through which customers are basically made for fall to prey, and how, and that itself will basically give us an idea as to what is it that the customers are not supposed to do, right? So very quickly, it is so very imperative today, at least in India. UPI, as we all know, is a mobile only platform. So you can do a UPI payment only and only through a mobile application, right? Not through internet. So it becomes so very important, and I want to just signify this by saying that the registered mobile number concept that we have, that you are always supposed to have your mobile number registered with your bank records, becomes very, very important. I just want to reiterate this fact as we begin this presentation. And the second important thing is the two-factor authentication, which is mandated by the Reserve Bank of India. In fact, our regulator has been so very proactive in terms of ensuring that customer safety is of paramount importance, that we were the possibly the first regulator, at least in the global arena, which made two-factor authentication absolutely mandatory for all our digital payment transactions, right? So I will not go into depth as to what two-factor authentication is all about, but this is something which is very, very critical. Now coming to UPI, the most important concept about UPI is that it basically involves a device binding process, right? And we all need to understand this, because the two types of frauds which basically happen in the ecosystem is completely, one is your account takeover frauds, where your account itself is taken over by the fraudster, right? And the second one is social engineering frauds, where the customer is enticed into making payments, right? So the first point, which is account takeover, can be addressed and is very well addressed through a very, very robust device binding process. And I'm just giving you a little bit of a heads up as to what device binding typically means. One is the device, the mobile device on which the app gets downloaded by the user, and second is the SIM card, right, which is present in that mobile device. These two, once they get binded, that basically ensure that account takeover cannot happen in UPI. Okay, so this is the importance of having a registered mobile number always updated in your banking records, the importance of two-factor authentication, and the device binding with the registered mobile number. Now, coming to UPI, you all are witness to the success of UPI, and obviously it is attributed to the users who basically use UPI, the ease of making payments, right? So what are the kind of payment options which are available? Obviously, one is the push payments, where you basically insert somebody's UPI ID or a VPA or an account number and IFSC and make a payment, which is called as a push payment. Then there is obviously a collect functionality. So when you go to a merchant website and you basically want to make payment through UPI, you are supposed to put in your VPA, and a notification will come on the UPI app which you are holding to make a payment. The third, obviously, scan QR, very, very significantly used across the entire ecosystem. And the last one is the intent. So my point is that in all of these payment channels, there are some ways in which the fraudsters have been able to basically find ways to misguide the user into making fraudulent payments, right? Very, very, very famous is the collect functionality. A lot of people send you collect requests, and the customers and the users are being made to believe that they will actually receive money, right? Where they basically propose it as that way, sir, we have sent you a collect request. Once you enter your PIN, you will collect the money. The money will get credited to your account, which actually isn't the case, right? So whenever you actually are entering the UPI PIN, that certainly means that the money will get debited. Collect is more of a functionality that is being provided by UPI as a product, but The customer needs to be made aware, and it is the responsibility of us as an ecosystem stakeholder that we create those kind of awareness mechanisms that people understand what is it that they are trying to do, right? The scan QR mechanism. The scan QR is a very, very easy mechanism of doing payment. So today, fraudsters also basically entice customers by clicking pictures of the QR code and sharing it to them over WhatsApp. And then the customers are enticed into making payment by scanning the QR code from the mobile gallery itself. And this basically is called a share QR transaction. So NPCI identifies all of these kind of things, and we have at an ecosystem level kept controls on collect. So an individual to individual collect transaction, there are certain restrictions on the number of transactions, the value of transactions. Even on a share QR kind of transaction, when you try and make a payment through a share QR from the gallery, there are certain restrictions in terms of payments. Similarly, on the intent side, intent basically are the intent links which you get on your SMSs or WhatsApp. Typically, it is more of a use case for biller kind of merchants. So, for example, your mobile bill payment is due, so please click on this link to make your payment. It is for those kind of merchants, but there have been people who have been in a way possible to have found ways to basically tinker with the intent links and send individual person-to-person intent requests. NPCI identified these kind of frauds were prevalent sometime back, about 1.5 years back, completely brought down this use case because customers' security and customers' interest is of paramount importance. So what basically makes people fall prey, right? So very important three things, and I want to reiterate this in this session: greed, fear, and ignorance. Greed, easy money, too good to believe schemes, and we all are aware. Most of the people who are not in the banking sector or not in the telecom sector or not in the financial sector, they don't come across this kind of frauds on a daily basis, right? So it is very easy for them to entice into something very, very lucrative and make them fall prey. Fear, the second most important thing. A lot of SMSs these days have been going around that your electricity connection will get disconnected if you don't make this immediate payment, right? Or your SIM card will get blocked. The last thing is ignorance. People these days have been so profound of using social media that if my payment has not gone through, or if I made a payment to a wrong account, or payment has got debited, not credited, some kind of an operational issue, we go and post it on social media as if that is the way to address our queries. But please understand, social media obviously gives opportunities for fraudsters to basically use the information which you are yourself posting on social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, whatsoever. And they are basically using that information to call you back as if they are calling from a certain bank for which you had posted a query. And they will basically win your trust and entice you into making payments. So these are the three things basically, if we are able to ensure that our customers are made aware that these are the three things through which you are supposed to be mindful, we will see a lot of reduction in frauds. I'll quickly come to what are the different kind of social engineering frauds. Most of you might be aware, but I would still want to reiterate that phishing, smishing, I think the earlier session SBI gentlemen already covered those, so I will not go into depth. But again, on fake ads and numbers populated on Google web links, you might anyways be aware, if you go and search for a reputed organization, at least a reputed financial organization, you get certain searches as the top searches. And most of the time, these numbers are actually fake and not the ones which are original numbers. So while Google has been working on that, is what we understand, they have brought in some controls to ensure that this kind of fake numbers don't get populated as a top search. But there is certainly a way that we as ecosystem players need to make our customers aware that what is the right way of doing and finding a contact center number. You basically need to go and search it from the website of that particular institution, be it a bank or any app, right? The third is the fake context updated in Google search. So there is some functionality available where you can basically post an ad and you can basically change somebody's mobile number. Some edit functionality is available. So people need to be mindful once again that what is the right source of going and getting information about contact center of a particular bank. Third is misleading and lucrative ads on marketplaces. So there are a lot of marketplaces today like the Facebook, OLX, and those kind of platforms. They basically are only marketplaces or online exchange platforms, but they do not facilitate payments. They only bring customers on a platform and basically they don't take any ownership. It is for the buyer and the seller to basically ascertain that is this a genuine product which is being sold and all of those kind of stuff. So customers need to be mindful whom they are dealing with. It is not more of a payments problem, but it is more of a trust issue, that whom are you trying to make payment to, and whether or not he is going to deliver the product or no. The next one, which in fact there is a lot of media news on this as well, fake investment and loan scams, right? People have been sold some or basically offered certain loans, and basically forcefully also at times being given loans, and then they have been charged exorbitant interest rates and all of those kind of things. Ultimately they are being given a UPI ID that please make this payment on this particular UPI ID, and then the customers come ahead at a later date and dispute it to the banks that they have been defrauded. So this is not more of a fraud is what I'd say, but the customers need to be made mindful that you are only supposed to take this kind of loans from known registered kind of apps or companies. And I'm sure even the regulator RBI has already taken a note of it, and they have already taken some strict actions against this kind of apps. But people need to be made mindful about this kind of things, right? So yeah, key takeaways from this particular slide is that 80% of cheating, fraud in digital payment is originated from social media. While I told you there is something called as account takeover, but account takeover typically gets addressed because of the device binding process that we have. Rest of the fraud is primarily social engineering. The prominent areas, Mewat, Bharatpur, Jamtara, Devgar, Jamtara, everybody is aware about it. But these are some of the other belts in which basically fraudsters typically try and operate from. Okay, so coming to, I will not discuss too much on the social engineering frauds because we have already had a couple of previous sessions on that. But what I would want to basically cover here is the new type of frauds which we have been observing in the UPI space, or maybe in the digital banking space, I would rather say, because it also covers your internet banking, mobile banking kind of channels. And what is it that the customers are actually supposed to do, and what is it that the ecosystem is supposed to ensure that customers are to be made aware of? So 4 types of modus operandi which I would want to cover. One is the SIM swap frauds. SIM swap spoof calls is another modus operandi, the remote access apps, and the SMS forwarding apps, and the APK files. So coming to SIM swap, now SIM swap was a real issue when about a couple of years back, when there was a huge drive of upgrading SIM cards from 3G to 4G, free SIM card upgradation from 3G to 4G, right? This was the precursor used by fraudsters to basically carry out SIM swap frauds. So how typically it used to happen? Fraudsters in some way, I don't know how, but in some way they are able to procure blank SIM cards, right? Which ideally should not have been there in the first place itself. But this is how the modus operandi works. When the fraudster is able to procure blank SIM cards, there every SIM card will have a 19 or a 20-digit SIM number depending on the kind of telco, right? What fraudster typically does is, since he has already procured this SIM card, he will simply call up a target victim and entice him that, okay, we would want to help you upgrade your SIM card from 3G to 4G, and you just need to follow certain steps which we are telling. And while the customer is already given a greed factor in terms of getting his card SIM upgraded from 3G to 4G, they also take the card credentials, bank credentials from the customer, be it the internet or mobile banking credentials, be it the UPI PIN, or be it the debit card credentials. So this is something which they take on the call itself. Subsequently, what happens is, now the customer is being asked to send this 19 or a 20-digit SIM number to a particular telco's number as an SMS. So what typically happens is, once the victim or the target victim sends this SIM number to the telco, it typically means that the new SIM number which I am sending as an SMS, that should get activated against the mobile number from which the message is being sent. Whereas the victim doesn't even realize what is the meaning of this SMS which is being sent. Now, fraudster will then activate this new SIM on his device with the victim's mobile number. Now, once this SMS is being sent, the existing SIM of the customer basically gets deactivated, but the new SIM which he had sent, the 19 or 20-digit SIM which he had sent, gets activated with the victim's mobile number. But the SIM is now available with the fraudster and not the victim. Now, remember I told the fraudster has already collected the banking credentials. Now, basically, he has the customer's mobile number with him along with the SIM, technically, right? And this is an account takeover type of scenario, right? So what typically happens is, or what are the probable indications that you are basically being duped? So unauthorized transactions will thereafter happen because the customer's SIM is any which was deactivated. No receipt of debit SMS alerts. Okay. So customer is not even aware as to what has happened. He will only be told because your mobile will get, your SIM will remain deactivated for a couple of hours and will get reactivated in a couple of hours. By that time, the account has been wiped off. So what the DOT has done is technically they've introduced two fantastic processes. One which ensures that whenever you do such kind of a SIM upgrade or whenever you send an SMS, there will be a consent call, an IVR call, which will come to you from the respective telecom operator within 2 hours that you have initiated a SIM exchange process. This will technically mean that your existing SIM card will get deactivated and the new SIM card will get activated. So please ensure that the new SIM card is available in your possession. If not, if yes, please press a 1. If not, please press a 2 or something of that sort. Right. So what technically happens is the customer is being made aware that was this is the impact of the action which you took in terms of sending an SMS. Right. So the customer is mindful whether he needs to now enter a 1 or a 2. And at times fraudsters are also smart enough. They basically try to basically entice the customer into saying you please disconnect the call in between only, so that the customer doesn't even know what is the message all about. But the process also ensures that if you disconnect the call before completely listening to it or before pressing a 1 or 2, the registration or the SIM change will not happen. Okay, so these are the couple of things which the DOT has mandated. And the second thing which has been done was there may still be some 1 or 2% chances where a customer will still go ahead and press a 1. Yes, I agree. The fraudster will still be in a way to influence the victim. In that case, the DOT has mandated that in case of a new SIM upgrade, there will be no inward or outward SMS for the next 24 hours after activation. Right. So once the SIM is deactivated, the fraudster is not going to get any OTP, even if he tries to do an internet or a mobile banking kind of a transaction. Right. So a 24-hour period is still good enough for a target victim to realize that his SIM has got deactivated, and he'll certainly go and approach his telecom operator as to why is it that my SIM has got deactivated. Till that time, at least the banking transactions will still not happen, because ideally he will not get any OTP. Right. So this is something which the telco have brought, but people still need to be mindful that this is the kind of way in which fraudsters basically try and carry out or basically entice victims into falling prey. Right. The second important modus operandi which I wanted to discuss was the advent of remote access apps. Now, remote access apps by virtue are actually very, very good tools to use, but it is more of an abuse of these tools which is actually done by fraudsters, which leads to frauds. So at least if you all work in corporates, in fact, you would have seen that the IT help desk teams typically try to take you on a remote access and take access of your screen just to help you resolve or troubleshoot your problems. But fraudsters have basically identified how to basically abuse this kind of tools. So what technically happens here is fraudster somehow convinces the victim to download a remote access tool in his mobile. There are multiple apps available. Victim shares the remote access tool credentials through which the fraudster gains access to victim's mobile. Obviously, that is typically done through a password, right? You both exchange your passwords, and basically fraudster now has access to your mobile device. Obviously, during this entire interaction, fraudster is also able to take the banking credentials by enticing customer, and all of this happens on the pretext of some kind of a greed or some kind of a fear that your electricity connection will get disconnected or whatnot, and customer falls prey to it. This is where I always keep coming back to the three important things: greed, fear, and ignorance. These are the three important things which basically are the precursor to any kind of fraud that technically happens. However, the success of all our digital payments is because of our customers, and however ignorant the customers are, it is the responsibility of us as an ecosystem to ensure that we create those kind of awarenesses and controls wherever possible. So what we recommend, at least at NPCI, is that every app, at least in case of UPI, at least what we basically asked is that there needs to be some control that if a UPI app, if a transaction is being initiated through a UPI app, the app should basically check, is there any remote access app available on the mobile device? If yes, then they should completely black out the screen, the UPI app screen, so that the fraudster is unable to view anything and do the transactions. I am sure the same thing, if it gets addressed in UPI, the fraudster will move to the mobile banking apps of the bank. And that is where it is very important that even the banks take cognizance of this kind of threats This has nothing to do with a security lapse at a bank's end, but the customer safety is of paramount importance, and we need to ensure that how we can, what additional things we can do to ensure that the customers are at least basically kind of safeguarded. So these are some of the things, at least in terms of remote access apps. Very important slide according to me, which I wanted to basically share with you guys. One is the mobile number spoofing app. I think some of it was already covered in the previous session as well, but I'll just try to make you understand what exactly we mean by this. So there are a lot of apps available in the ecosystem today, which basically work as spoof apps. So the idea of this kind of app, it is more of a prank app. That was the actual possible intention why these kind of apps were basically launched or whatnot. But fraudsters again found out a way to abuse this kind of apps. So what typically happens is a fraudster can update any mobile number of target through options available in the app. So I have a mobile number A, but if I want, if I have the option of putting B person's mobile number, and all the calls emanated now from my mobile using this app will go as a call which is being done by person B. And person C, who has already saved the contact of person B, will receive this call as if it is coming from person B, but instead it is coming from person A. And most of these are all VoIP calls, which the target victim doesn't even understand, because he will get the same name which has been saved in his mobile gallery, right? So this is how a mobile number spoofing app is basically misused or abused by fraudsters. So what typically we are basically supposed to do is, the threat actually which arises is our our digital banking system, where a lot of calls go from registered mobile numbers to the customer care numbers of the bank, right? And there are certain mechanisms or certain checks and controls which the banks have, that if at all a call is coming from a customer who is already having a registered mobile number with me, then I will bypass certain checks. And when this kind of relaxations are there, these are subject to easy fraud. So it is important that banks now be mindful of that these kind of apps are available in the ecosystem, and they can possibly bypass their controls which they have kept, and they need to relook at this and ensure that they bring in some more controls so that customers don't fall prey to it. Customers, we have a huge demography. India has a huge demography, a very large population. It is not going to be possible to educate each and everyone, but we will need to bring in certain controls, at least knowing what the modus operandi are, right? So this is how the mobile spoofing apps work. But okay, so from an NPCI perspective, what we did was we did pick up with some of the regulators, as to this is the kind of problem that the ecosystem is facing, which is a real threat. So the regulator had identified some 12 odd apps about a couple of months back, and they had ensured that no Indian mobile numbers at least will be available to be used on these kind of apps. But this solution, which was more of a plugin kind of a solution, as at that point in time, there were certain apps which were identified and these controls were kept. But you never know, this kind of threats may still keep coming up. There may be new apps which will come up, possibly giving this kind of facility, and we as ecosystem have to be mindful of how is it and what are the steps that we need to take to ensure that the customers don't fall prey to this kind of things. The next modus operandi which we have basically come across is the SMS forwarding apps or the APK files which the victims are made to download. Again, all of this begins with the same adage, where either because of greed or ignorance, but fraudsters are able to basically send these APK files to victims, target victims, over a WhatsApp, ask them to download and install it, which basically ensures that all the messages on the victim's mobile basically are viewed by the fraudster on his device. And there are also APK files which have the function wherein also SMSs get auto forwarded from victim's mobile to the destination which they are supposed to go. So all of these kind of functionalities or abuse cases, I would say, are prevalent today in the ecosystem, right? And the only way to kind of, as of now, address this is by creating a lot of customer awareness. And when I say customer awareness, a lot of people keep saying customer awareness, but when I say customer awareness, I am trying to say, please identify your target segment who is actually getting defrauded, right? there is no point in giving customer awareness campaigns, making customer awareness campaigns in flashy languages, which your end customer is not going to understand. If a tier 4, tier 5 customer, customer from tier 4, tier 5 city or a rural India is not going to understand your English, you need to understand that they will need to be communicated in the language which they understand. Okay, so these kind of things basically are needed to ensure that our customers are safeguarded. So customer awareness should not be a tick in the box. It should be an effort in spirit by the ecosystem to ensure that people don't fall prey, because the next 10 years we'll see that products like UPI and anything to do with digital payments is the only way to go. And the only way India can ensure that these products actually succeed is by creating a lot of customer awareness. And this brings me to the last slide. So while there have been a lot of efforts put in by a lot of people, I would rather say at least let us make some of these things very, very prominent in all our customer awareness sessions, that whenever you are making payment to some unknown person, at least a lot of apps, in fact, almost all the apps provide an in-app notification. No point in having an SMS. They need to have an in-app notification that you are making payment to somebody who is not even in your contact list. Are you absolutely sure? That is what's the most important thing that an individual can know about for whom he is making payment to. The second point is the customers need to be made aware that when you put a VPA or a UPI ID to make payment, there is a resolution which happens of the UPI ID. The resolution typically means that you will get to know that a particular VPA to whom you are making payment, what is the name of that customer as per his banking records. So in the second screenshot where you have a particular VPA there, when the resolution happens before making the payment, you will get to know the registered name which is available in the banking records. And typically the names available in banking records are the same that you are any which is aware of. So these kind of things are something which needs to be told and again and again to the customers, that these are the kind of things they are supposed to check. And last but not the least, for the payment to happen, you are required to enter the UPI pin. And as soon as they see this particular screen, the third screen which I am showing, people and there is also a prominent message now which all the apps display. This is the UPI common library page where pin is being entered, that you are transferring money from your account to so and so person, whoever it is, but you are transferring money, right? This is something which is obviously as NPCI, at least as a network, as the entity which runs UPI, we try to bring in this kind of mechanisms to give in-app experience to the customers. No customer is actually going to go and see your SMSs that you are going to make payment to this or post-transaction SMS. That is of no use. At the time of making payment, the in-app experience which the customer gets is basically something which the customer has to be made aware that these are the kind of things which are available to you, and it is an alert for you that this is the kind of transaction you are doing. Are you absolutely sure that you want to make this payment? So these are the kind of experiences that need to be conveyed to customers in terms of customer awareness programs and make digital payments a success. So that was it from my side in terms of the best practices, at least in terms of how digital payments need to basically function.
Thanks a lot, Hardik. I know it got delayed, the session got delayed, but your session was quite insightful for all the audience. And UPI is a thing that everyone uses in day-to-day life, in every transaction, from doing buying anything on the roadside or in the big shops. And it also poses certain challenges to the users. And you rightly pointed out all the precautions one should take while doing all these transactions. Thanks a lot again for taking out time for this session and sharing your best practices and experiences with the audience. Thanks a lot.